Hello, everyone. I forgot to put our background on. Shoot. There it is. I'm literally trying to retweet us too. I do this every single week. I can't catch up with the friggin' thing fast enough. So I'm trying to retweet us in real time. But oh my goodness, welcome to the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. My name is Caitlin. This is Katie. And we are so excited to be with you live, as always, on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you're listening to this on demand on our podcast on all your favorite outlets, thank you, obviously, for tuning in and subscribing to us. So I'm literally sitting here because I'm going to retweet this before we get started because I'm putting it on myself and I can see myself in the live streams. That always makes me laugh. So Katie and I have such a good show for you tonight because we brought on a guest again. And I'm so excited to let everyone see who our guest is. Drum roll, please. There he is. We got Snacks here. Welcome to the Real Football Fans of New Jersey.
What was that?
Welcome.
Guys, I am so happy to be here. I watch as much as I can, and I've been jealous of some of the people that you guys have on, just patiently waiting for my turn. And I'm on the train coming home from work, and all of a sudden I get the DM, and I'm like, bam! I tried to wait to answer a little bit to show that I was cool, calm, and collected, but I think I failed, and I answered maybe a little too quick. But no, thank you guys so much for having me. I love what you guys do, and I am very excited to be here. So thank you.
Awesome. Of course, we are so thrilled to have you on. And as much as you have been waiting for us to get you here, we have been waiting to bring you on as well. Just had to be the right time. And we think right now on Wednesday, June 9th at 7:30 p.m. is the best time to have you. So real quick, can you just introduce yourself to our audience? What's your name besides Snacks? No, I'm kidding. It's just Snacks. But what's the whole dealio here?
Yeah. So Snacks, that's fine. My birth name is Nicholas, but you don't have to call me that. My parents call me that when they're angry at me. So Snacks works just fine. I from Northern Jersey, as we were talking about. Just want to throw it out there because I'm very proud of it. I am on a couple shows. Fade the Public. We do fantasy football under the Big Dogs Gotta Eat window. My two friends, Nick and Max. And I'm on with many of your listeners know, Justin Pennick with the Bleeding Blue. It's a Giants history podcast that we started. He started a few years ago, but we rebranded it for full Giants history. And it's kind of taken off a little bit over the last year or so. And it's been a lot of fun. So that's where you can find me on those nonsense and speaking my own nonsense, because that's all I really do. There's not much intelligence that comes out of my mouth. But
that's not true. We wouldn't have you on if there was no intelligence that came out. We are intelligent. We talk smart things here. That's also part of my cleverness. I try and downplay myself only for you guys to pick me back up. So I really do appreciate that. No, but it's been a lot of fun. And Caitlin, I know we have gone back and forth on Twitter a lot, and I'm sure all of my ridiculousness that's on Twitter is a little much for some people, and people probably I know people hate me and all my rhetoric and whatnot, but that's okay. It's okay. It's all in good fun, all in good.
We got a big Snacks fan. Apparently, you're not hated by everybody. Hot Dog City here commenting, big Snacks fan. So a lot of people I know are going to be very excited to see you on the podcast tonight.
They clearly are, and then still LOLing from this comment from Talking Giants. So
yeah, I have quite an idea on who wrote that. I'm not going to say which one, but I have a good idea. And Hot Dog City, I love hot dogs, so it's a mutual love, my friend.
Well, Hot Dog City is a frequent Real Football Fans in New Jersey fan as well, so it's just great synergy that we have going on here. And Snacks, I think that as much as we interact on Twitter and have a great relationship there, you and Katie are very similar in ways that you don't even know yet, because you both are the most non-optimistic Giants fans in the world. I thought I met my match with Katie being a pessimist, but you, Snacks, are, I don't know, you might be a runner-up to Katie. So, but you just are a hater and a half.
I don't like to use the word not optimistic. I like to use the word realistic. A realistic Giants fan. That's what I like to call myself.
Katie, it's a great way to put it. And Caitlin is right. I will say in my like 2 years that I started, 2.5 years, almost 3 years that I started this Twitter, I think I could count on one hand how many positive things I've said about the Giants. And that's really all when it's football season and even outside of football season, I really just tweet about the Giants because that is, I love them more than literally anything in the world. And I just have nothing good to say. I have seen too much heartbreak over the last, 9 years.
Yeah.
I've seen too much bad football, but there's also a method to my madness. I'm a big reverse psychology kind of guy. So
if you put that bad juju out there, it'll come back positive. That's
right. Because my whole life, and this is not to like dwell, I've had shit luck my whole life. I was born with red hair, so right off the rip, that was, that's not fair. Not fair to me. And I figured with all this shit luck that maybe if I don't express confidence and I express disappointment and misery and anger and upsetness and all that maybe all that bad energy will give the Giants some hope. And clearly, it hasn't worked. So recently I've been going to a shrink to figure out what I can do differently this season to try and bring better juju onto the Giants. And so far we've come up with no answers. So I will continue to be the most ridiculous hater in the world. I'm not changing. Sorry.
Sometimes when you keep your expectations really low, it's either like you won't get too upset or you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I just like keep those expectations super low.
Exactly. And especially like just as the most recent example, that Seattle game this past year, I went in there thinking with Colt McCoy playing too, no less.
I like peed my pants during that game.
Nobody got excited.
I did.
I completely fainted. My good friend after the game, because we were all I was pretty banged up. And after the game, he told me that he's going to propose to his girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, that's great. Give him a big hug and everything. The next week he comes over and he goes, all right, so do you want to talk about the big news? I was like, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, from what I told you last week. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it was like in my Giants world, after the Giants just beat the Seahawks in a huge game, I completely forgot that one of my best friends in the world is proposing to his girlfriend. And now he asked me to be in his wedding. So I feel like even bigger of a dickhead. But it doesn't matter. In football season, I see one thing and one thing only.
We have our blinders on. Nothing can happen like during football season. And I think, everyone, your friends need to realize that. Your family does. I think mine and Katie's family and friends have been very respectful over the past X amount of years or so that this is our time. And you cannot do anything on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays with us. So,
no.
But so honestly, great initial discussion here with the three of us. But Snacks, we do have a couple of questions for you. And if you guys are watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now, if you do have any additional questions for Snacks or Katie or myself, go ahead, submit them. We already put up some great commentary on the feed, so thank you so much. Keep the comments coming as well. So, given that we are a football and housewives podcast, but we're also very much so into the wine, and I know you are as well. One of the first things I think we realized about each other were that it was a good bonding moment, the love of wine. So we want to know, what is your favorite wine, whether it's the type, so like a Merlot or a Chardonnay, or brand, and tell us what you're drinking tonight too.
Yep. Okay. So it's funny. I wrote, you guys, by the way, are like so well prepared in the questions you gave me and everything. I was able to write everything down just so I don't sound like an idiot when I come on. Now, I had trouble with this. So I usually drink white wine because red wine to me is like, that's what my dinner, it's stuff like that. It depends on the mood. If I want to have a glass before bed, I think it's better than NyQuil. Drink a glass of red, boom, done. So my favorite wine is a Pinot Grigio. And in specific, Cavett Pinot Grigio, which I am drinking tonight. And yes, for you guys, I bought the big bottle.
Very nice.
But when I go to red, I'm not okay. So I don't go out and I spend like $30 on wine. I just think it's unnecessary. I like Josh Merlot a lot, like the brand and Merlot itself.
We love Josh.
Josh is it's so good. Even the Josh Pinot is delicious.
Yeah,
all of the Josh ones are very
the red
good.
blend. So Josh Legacy is their best red wine. It's a red blend. It's delicious.
Yeah. It absolutely is, and I'm glad you guys said that because I'm like, Josh wine. I mean, I know it's a popular brand, so it's kind of easy to say, but I love Merlot, and then the Josh Merlot really gets me going. Now, on a few occasions during the year, when I go to grandma's, and I know I'm not Irish, I'm all Italian, so that's why it's a little. My grandmother, the 4-foot nothing woman that she is, she's got like a dozen, maybe 8 dozen bottles of Opus One. I'm sure you guys have heard. I don't know if you've heard of Opus One, but it's like a $70 bottle of red, and it's only drank on special occasions. Yeah. I don't think I've drank it since I graduated college, like 4 or 5 years ago. That's how rare it is. But when I tell you, it's like water in the most respectful way to wine ever. It is so delicious that I'm almost trying to go to grad school so I can graduate that just so I could pop that bottle again.
Well, Snacks, why don't you tell Grandma that you were on the Real Football Fans in New Jersey? And I think that's a huge accomplishment.
That's a special occasion.
I'm going to have to tell her what like a podcast and a computer is first. But then once I get through that, then maybe she will appreciate that and decide that it is time for a bottle of Opus One.
All right, love it.
There's a bunch of comments going on right now, and I don't even know. It's all around smoking cigarettes and stuff, and now it's between Justin and Talking Giants.
Not read him, please.
Oh, did you know?
I know exactly who it is. He's a ball buster. Don't even read it. Don't bother him. Fade him out. Don't worry.
Guys, don't bring your nonsense crowd into our show.
Don't bring the beef onto this show. Good vibes only.
The disrespect.
Good vibes only. Okay. So that was great. And I want to see, I think you held up your wine. Can I see your wine tumbler?
Oh,
yeah.
It looked like
a Giants one, right? Beautiful.
For the occasion.
That is beautiful.
For the occasion. Yes.
Beautiful.
I'm like Grandma with Opus One. I normally don't bring this out, but I was very excited about tonight.
Baby.
So special occasion.
I do have a Giants wine glass. It's strict for the Giants games. And then I don't have that tumbler. That's a really nice one.
You know what's funny? I don't even know where I got it. I used to have a beautiful Giants wine glass, and my doofus dog.
Man, your dog is so cute.
He's cute. He's a cute guy. I can't lie. He's royal pain in the ass. But he's a very cute guy, and he hit into the counter like running around playing. We were throwing him the thing. And boom, just went all over the place. So he owes me one of those, and I'm sure I'll never see it.
Is your dog like secretly an Eagles fan or something?
You know what? It's funny because we try and put the here. You know what? Let me see if I could show it to you. So we have this is. Wait. All right, now this is bad showmanship. Snacks. Come on. So we put. I don't know if you can see him, but that's little Benny.
I can see it.
In his Giants outfit, and when we put it on him. He does not. I besides trying to get a treat, I've never seen him do anything harder in his life than try and take it off. So I am starting to think he is not a fan of the New York Giants.
Oh, you got to question it.
I do.
You ain't kidding. I know it's a little nerve wracking. But then again, in the 2.5 years we've had him, he hasn't seen great football, so I don't really blame him.
Yeah, listen. So you just gotta keep putting him in front of the TV and hope some good stuff comes around there. So
happens.
We've only won 11 games in the 2.5 years we've had him. So maybe he's the problem.
We got to get some more W's for him, and brownie points for Benny. Someone just wrote in the chat. So shifting over to New York Giants football again, what is the main thing you're looking forward to when watching camp this year?
All right, so I thought about this, and I think the obvious answer is our quarterback Daniel Jones, and the how he looks with the new weapons we got in Galladay. It sounded like today we're not going to really see Barkley, which kind of sucks. But
I was a little shocked by that, to be honest. Maybe my mind was just being the overly optimistic Giants fan. I feel like I wasn't even thinking about it. And maybe that's just me not being naive about the fact that he is still coming off of an injury.
Right, like a very gruesome injury, but like in your mind,
Yeah.
he's a freak of nature. Like he could get shot in the chest and play the next week. I understand.
That quote today, I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, so I feel you on that one.
No, I hear you. But they brought in Galladay, they brought in Rudolph, they drafted Kadarius Toney, so they gave this kid a lot of weapons. And I mean, it's no secret. I guess I'll say it out loud. I'm not Daniel's biggest fan, but I do think, and I listened to Bobby and Justin. They do an unbelievable job talking about him, and they're the only ones that really give me confidence in any belief that he can be good. So all my eyes are going to be all on him. And I know it's difficult, in camp and OTAs to really judge what a quarterback can do in shoulder pads and shorts. But it's that second year in a stale Jason Garrett's offense. I'm hoping he opens up the playbook a little bit more, which I guess we won't really see till the regular season. I'm very intrigued by the offensive line, as I think for the first time in a very long time, I feel really good. Caitlin, optimistic here. For the first time in a long time, I'm feeling really good about the direction this team is going in.
Okay.
But the two biggest question marks are arguably the two biggest necessities on a football team, and that's the offensive line and the quarterback. So my sole focus is going to be on those guys and, the offensive line chemistry and the new offensive line coach and, what he brings and everything like that. I wish we had more access. And I'm also because I have a question for you guys too, because I brought this up to somebody before. But I also am very curious to see how the pass rushers do. And because that's also kind of, I guess you could say, a weakness, but with the draft, it's definitely a weakness. And the Giants are known for great pass rushers throughout their history. It's how they've won Super Bowls in the past.
That's why it's a weakness. If you're looking at any other team or organization, maybe if you had the Giants past couple seasons, you wouldn't really declare it as a weakness. But what we've come from year after year, like in years past, it's a dominant position in our franchise. So it is a extreme weakness for us.
Right. You just look at the last two Super Bowls and the guys they had with Tuck and Osi and Strahan, Kiwanuka, even Dave Tollefson performed in the playoffs when needed. And it's just – so I'm very worried about that. Now, with the training camp and OTAs and everything, do you guys – I don't know if you guys watch the show. I'm sure you do. You guys are big football fans. Hard Knocks. Do you want the Giants to be on Hard Knocks? Because they're
Huge Hard Knocks discussion last week on the show. We actually played a game where we talked about all 5 candidates that could be eligible to be on Hard Knocks. And we kind of like paired up like different scenarios. Would you rather watch this? Would you rather watch that? And I think Caitlin and I think I could speak for both Caitlin and I and say that we prefer that the Giants are not on Hard Knocks. Yeah. We don't like to show our cards in any kind of way. But if they happen to be selected, I'm not going to cry about it. It would be cool to get a look behind the scenes and see these guys. But ultimately, I think we both prefer that it goes to somebody else.
Yeah, it's just like more of a distraction. And then you throw like the New York media behind it. It really just heightens it. So I think for the Giants, and I wouldn't want something poor to come with how well they did this offseason. I'm so proud of what they've actually been able to accomplish. And, even the most like pessimistic Giants fan is optimistic about that, like just the progress and where we're going forward. So
go ahead, finish it.
No, I was literally just going to repeat myself. It's the last thing that I would want to see is for something like that to happen, like Hard Knocks to happen and like ruin everything.
When everything is starting to
on it? Do you want to see
so I was going to like when everything is going in the right direction with a great offseason, a great draft, picking up picks next year, everything is looking so bright. I have wanted nothing to do with Hard Knocks forever.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would hate it this year. I'm with you. Like that's especially in New York. Like we saw what it did to the Jets. They were on Hard Knocks and they completely sucked. Like the Cowboy, every big market team that goes on Hard Knocks, something bad just happens. But I'm enamored, as you probably know, with Joe Judge. I think he's like probably the best thing that's happened to this franchise.
I did tweet that I would die for him today, and Blake Martinez. I tweeted that I would die for the two of them. Like I'm not being dramatic. Like sincerely would die.
No, that's I would give. not Blake Martinez, but I would give my life for Joe Judge. I would.
We love Blake Martinez.
Listen. He's a great football player. Me and him have beef off the field. On the field, unbelievable.
Wait, can you like peel back the layers on that? Give us the like 10,000 like foot view of it.
Okay, all right. So,
sips the tea.
Like I've said, I'm a miserable fuck, and Blake Martinez. I didn't want to sign him in the first place because I thought he was just a product of a bad defensive line. He would make tackles 6 yards down the field. Then I watched him play, and he's a really good football player, really good. And I was very pleasantly surprised with how good he was. And then there was like the Pro Bowl voting, and he was crying about not being in the Pro Bowl, which he should have been. He should have been a Pro Bowler.
I was crying.
I understand that, but I don't like my players getting on social media, crying for votes and all these things and all of that. It just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, just a little bit. I think he's kind of a child on social media, just a little bit, which is okay. He's a young guy. He's making a lot of money. He's playing well. He's in New York. I get it. All. It's okay. And then I think the Pokemon obsession's it creeps me out a little bit.
Justin just comment, here you go.
Justin knows. And Justin, that scumbag that he is, him and Danny Behan on our Bleeding Blue podcast, they got me a cameo from Blake Martinez.
Yep. And ask him about a cameo.
yeah, of course. And the cameo was like, this guy thinks I like him. I do. I like you on the football field, Blake. I think you're a great guy.
Can you guys get us a cameo from Blake? We'll
Danny and Justin, how much did this cameo cost? Because I want
Send it our way, baby.
I think they said, well, I'm not going to get in their pockets, so I won't.
If Justin's watching, take a picture of the T-shirt we just sent you real quick. He's got that lovely picture.
But yeah, long story short, I love him on the field. I'm not his biggest fan off of it. That's all.
Well, Snacks, it's been really fun. This is where we have to leave you since you're not you're out off the show.
We got to kick you off.
We love our Blakey boy.
We do love Blake.
It's okay. I understand. A lot of people do. Listen, I said it. I love him. When he suits up on Sunday, I love him. And there was also one game he didn't show any effort, and it really pissed me off. But that's another story.
$80?
$80? I'm just going to buy it for myself. That's a great deal.
That is a great deal.
That's a phenomenal deal. I love that. I'm just going to go buy myself a cameo.
Yeah.
Like 4 seasons. I love that.
He's really good. He's really good at it. He doesn't stutter any words.
Forget the expensive wine. Like I'm going to get that cameo instead.
Seriously. All righty. So one last question. Obviously, my brother wrote goodbye. My brother's watching.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye. So one more question before we go into some other topics. And obviously, again, if you guys are watching live right now, it seems like a bunch of people are watching live on Twitter. If you do have any questions for us, please go ahead and ask, or just general commentary like we've seen the whole episode so far. Okay, so your podcast with Justin Pennick, Bleeding Blue, is about New York Giants history, which I got to tell you guys, I'm so impressed with this podcast. I've caught a couple of episodes. I do watch the Twitter and Instagram feeds, and it's such an interesting idea. And coming from, and this is like a non-bias, like being a Giants fan, like it's such a true, rich, like football franchise history. So
there's a lot, yeah.
I think it's such a great idea. And again, like hats off to you guys. It's incredible what I've heard so far. So keep it up. So we do have a question in regards to that. So given that it is about New York Giants history, what is your favorite piece of history that you've learned about our franchise while doing the podcast?
Yeah. So this is such a great question, and all credit to Justin. It was his idea. He brought me on to do it. And it's something
Snaps to Justin.
Yeah. It's something that he really tapped into that nobody does, and we kind of took off at the right time because, and I hate to say this, because the present day Giants have not been very good. So looking back on the good history has been very beneficial for us.
Yeah. Right.
But we have a ton of fun with it, and I have learned a lot. And I was trying to narrow it down to like one thing. And listen, this is like not a humble brag, but there's not much I didn't know about Giants history. We have covered we've covered books on like the old school stuff that we weren't alive for and all of that. And one like fascinating thing for me was like just the timeline of different coaches the Giants have had in their franchise, where it went from like a Bill Parcells, a hard-nosed, you know, his philosophy of stern toughness, discipline, all of that, to like, you know, a Jim Fossil, who rest in peace.
Mhm.
And, you know, our first coach pretty much essentially.
Yeah.
And he was a player's coach. He was soft on the edges, and he had that team doing well for a while. And then you bring in Tom Coughlin, who's like the same. He's from the Bill Parcells tree pretty much. He was an assistant under Bill, and he learned his way. And his philosophy was the same way: stern, demanding, you know, all of this stuff like that. So it was funny to me how they have kind of really went, you know, different styles of coaching philosophies and personalities.
Yeah.
And when you look at Coughlin, and everybody knows the story of how he like loosened up in the 2007 run from going from like this stern, like general type, you know, war general type coach to like this loving grandfather type coach. And, you know, on our show, we read Tom Coughlin's 2007 book where he talks about that. And there's like certain instances where he's like, we lost the game because we had 15 penalties. In any other year, I would scold my team. I would make them run. But we went bowling instead. And I wanted to show them that I still believe in them. And this is what they're doing. I'm like, the change that like he made was so fascinating to me. And the layers behind it were incredible. Like you knew on the outside that he changed. You know, he was definitely a softer guy. But the way he describes all the changes he did, and, you know, the therapy sessions he had with his family and his wife, who's an amazing person. And she's like, you know, you got to show them how you are with your grandchildren. And that's exactly what he did. So I always liked listening and learning about, you know, the history of the Giants coaches and their philosophies and everything like that, and how it has gone from, you know, discipline to players coach to discipline to players coach, and McAdoo and Sherman, like and then to Judge, I think Judge is very a mix of both. And that I think that's what makes him so good, because the players respect him. He demands respect from them, but he comes off as a human being, and he treats his players well, it seems, and everything. So I loved all of the learning about the philosophies of our coaches, and, you know, how the philosophies changed and everything. And then, I mean, just learning about the game of football in the 80s is night and day from what it is today. It was like the games were like 9-7. It was all defensive games, and you had like 30 players with 10 plus sacks. Now you have like 5. It's all passing, people getting rid of the ball. In the 80s, people are holding on to the ball. They're running the ball 40 times. Now you see teams only running the ball 15 times a game. Just the complete opposite of what it is. And just the trajectory of football and the way it went from 1980 to what year are we in? 2021 is unbelievable. And it's just all learning about all these different things has been so great. And just, I guess, a little funny tidbit, like I know in America's Game, they talk about it a little bit, about the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl team. But the 2007 and 2011 teams were as tight-knit as it got. And everybody calls Eli a prankster, but the whole team was pranking each other at all times. And if you go back on some of our shows, we talk about some of the pranks they did. And I would say a prank right now, but it's a little vulgar, so I don't know if I want to. I'm going to say it. So I'm going to say it. Rich Soybert said the rookies were acting up a little bit, and they brought super soakers. And instead of putting water in the super soakers, they put urine. So it's kind of gross, but he talks about how it brought them all together, and all these jokes and the way they pranked each other. It built that camaraderie and that chemistry, and those two teams were pretty much together for a long time. So just really all in all, like learning about those, especially those two championship teams that are always near and dear to our hearts, because we were very much alive and functional for those, and learning about the coaches and the way the game has changed. It's been a lot of fun. And, you know, I used to think I was a Giants history savant, but there's a lot of layers to this. Like Caitlin said, it's a very historic franchise, and there is a lot of layers to peel off this onion about this team. So
I think the things that you pick up that you don't necessarily know about, it's funny that you mentioned reading Coughlin's book. I feel like it's the books you have to read. I mean, we've read Victor Cruz's book. I've read Herzlich's book, a book on Eli. Like, I feel as though when you read those and you read the stories from the guys themselves, those are the things that you're not going to catch on ESPN or whatever. Like, I feel like that's where you're going to, as much as you know, and we both know, I think that's where you're going to pick up those little things that no one would ever know unless you read that book.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Reading is so important. And there was another book we read, If These Walls Could Talk. It was by Ernie Palladino. That was like the first thing we really started on. And that goes into so much more of like the in-depth intricacies of everything. And Kay, you're so right. Like you could know the history from afar, like what you read in a newspaper or watch on SportsCenter or watch during the game or what you hear in a press conference, everything like that. But when you get into the fine print of the behind the scenes stuff, it is so interesting. It is so cool. And it makes you so much more appreciative of your fandom and the team that you love. So I'm very grateful for Justin, the stupid son of a bitch that he is.
We love Blake Martinez, and we just happen to love all the people that you're shitting on.
I told you I'm a miserable bastard.
You can't shit on your co-host like that. You never do that.
Well, you don't see us. Okay, whoa, time out, real quick. If you don't think he shits on me, you got to know. I got a bridge to sell you.
I know.
It goes both ways.
Justin, not sweet little Justin.
Oh, no. Yeah. Sweet little Justin. Sweet little Justin, my ass. Okay.
Justin, I got your back. Send me that cameo, baby.
Send me that. We need that Blake Martinez cameo. Just send it. So I'm happy that you did bring up, he loves you, he said, he wrote.
He knows I love him too. We literally hang up the phone and say, I love you every time.
Never said a bad thing about him, he said. And then someone did. I don't know if you know this person, but he wrote Snacks too.
Chris, yeah, I see Chris. Chris is a great man. Big wrestling fan like myself.
Nice. Well, I thought, the history of the Giants coaching staff and how, kind of like the changes and who they brought on year after year, whenever they decided to go with. I think that's a very interesting tidbit to bring up. And I am happy you brought it up because we do want to segue before we do talk about, other things in relation to football. Obviously, some like very, very sad news in the Giants community, and you did touch on it a little bit. So unfortunately, and, Katie and I were beyond shocked and saddened by this news. Jim Fossil has passed away. So his son confirmed his death on Monday night. He was only 71 years old, experiencing chest pains, and was taken to a local hospital. He did die of a heart attack while he was under sedation. So just a little background on him. If you guys watching are not Giants fans, he was our head coach from 97 to 2003, was the 1997 NFL Coach of the Year after his first season with the New York Giants. And then he took us to the Super Bowl only 3 seasons later. And he has that tremendous and well-known press conference where he says, we're going to the playoffs, like we're a playoff team. It's one of those chilling, press conferences that you see. And now it's just been playing over and over this week. And, just really sad. And we were talking about it before we went live, the 3 of us are all very similar age. And that was an era where we remember him as technically like our first head coach, where we understood the game of football, what was going on. We were established New York Giants fans by that time. And he was the coach for that stretch. He obviously the Super Bowl against the Ravens, like that's who, and everything like that. It's just so, So it's just
one thing, speaking about history that we might not, we feel like we know everything, but stuff that we don't remember, he was kind of like the first coach that we all remember. But 1997, I'm just going to let you all know, I was 7 years old. I don't remember the fact that until we were prepping for the show and I'm reading about him and everything. I didn't obviously remember that he was the NFL Coach of the Year in 1997 in his rookie year as a head coach for the Giants. That's huge. That really says a lot, right off the bat for him. And I was ultra impressed because that wasn't anything that I remembered. But he was huge for us for a long time.
He was, and he after that Super Bowl in 1990, they went into a pretty big lull, and they were not very good, and he kind of brought them back, and 97. I wish I was only 4 or 5 years old for that, so I don't remember it, but I wish I was alive for it because nobody expected them to win that year, and it was a first-year head coach, a quarterback that wasn't really expected to do much, and he made it happen. And just a few years later, he makes it to the Super Bowl, and he has probably the greatest, arguably outside the Super Bowl, is arguably the best Giants win ever with the 41-0 demolishing of the Minnesota Vikings. And Caitlin, like you said, that was it was the first coach that we knew. And waking up yesterday morning, I woke up at probably 6:30 or something. I had a text from my brother. You open, you see, check your phone. First person you see is your brother. I'm like, why is he texting me at 6 a.m? And he's like, Jim Fossil died. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? So of course I went to Twitter, and Danny told us, and I was like, I was shook all day. I don't think I did anything at where I was almost physically ill. I didn't think it would hit me like that. Mm-hmm. And then, being on Twitter all day and then seeing his former players say stuff, and, coaches around the league saying stuff. It was kind of bittersweet in the sense that he was getting all the deserved accolades and respect that he has always deserved. Yeah. That he should have heard before that. And I know it always takes somebody passing for that to happen. But it made me it was very, I don't know. It helped me heal in a way to realize that people did understand the importance of Jim Fossil as the New York Giants head coach and just a coach in general. So it was a heartbreaking day, a heartbreaking news. And, in a sense, he deserved another head coaching job after the Giants. I don't know why he never got one, but in a way, I'm almost kind of happy that his only head coaching job was with the New York Giants, and that's what he will be remembered for.
His legacy, yeah.
That's his legacy, yeah. So, rest in peace to him, and thank you for a lot of great memories, Coach Fossil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very well
absolutely. Said. Yep, couldn't say it better myself.
All right. So those were our awesome questions that you guys brought in. But we do want to keep snacks around for our first big story of the week in the world of football. I think we should all know what that one is. It might not be Giants related, but it's as big as it gets. We are obviously talking about Mr. Julio Jones and the fact that he has been traded to the Tennessee Titans. I want to say it's really, really funny because just last week, we went over an article that Adam Shine wrote where he was giving bold predictions for this upcoming season. And he predicted that Julio Jones was going to be with the Titans and that they would win at least 11 games with him. And I said, I would believe that they would win at least 11 games, but he's not going to the Titans. So this was just last week. And now here we are, foot in my mouth. But over the weekend, Atlanta agreed to send Julio Jones to Tennessee along with a 2023 sixth-round pick in exchange. And I was a little surprised by this, but this was in exchange for a 2022 second-round pick and 2023 fourth-round picks. I didn't think Atlanta would go for that. And it makes me feel like if you're another team that thought about him, are you kicking yourself a little bit? I think a lot of teams would have gladly given that up to bring him in. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. I'm sorry, Caitlin, but you're probably right. I would have thought maybe a little more. I know I'm not positive his contract situation, but I know it's probably a little hefty, so maybe that scared a little teams off.
It is.
And maybe Atlanta didn't want to trade him in the conference. So those are two factors that I'm thinking. But I mean, the landing spot itself.
The man said that he wanted to win. So
Titans won the NFC Championship game 2 years ago, so it's right there.
They're winning in 2021.
But you're absolutely You're absolutely right about the contract situation. Definitely played a factor because although Tennessee did not have to give up a first round pick to get him, they will have to pay. It's a $15.3 million salary for 2021 and the remaining 2 years of his contract. So yeah, that's the part that's like, all right, this is what we gotta just swallow and do. But Jones, obviously, he's now going to be joining Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. We got A.J. Brown with him at wide receiver, all-pro running back, and Derrick Henry. This is a scary team, in my opinion. So, yes, you just mentioned, Tennessee. This is a team that won the AFC South Division last year, made it to the AFC title game just 2 seasons ago. Jones now 32 years old. That factors in a little bit as well, and the fact that he's coming off of an injury, a little banged up in 2020, but he spent his entire career so far, which has spanned a decade with Atlanta. He was drafted number 6 overall in the 2011 draft. And he's made 5 consecutive all-pro teams prior to battling the hamstring injury in 2020. And this, even though despite appearing in just 9 games last year, he still finished the season with 771 yards on 51 catches. So obviously he's going to be taking a physical, all things like that. We did get a question, and we thought we were going to do it at the beginning of the show, but we thought we'd throw it in here. We did get a question asking, I think we can all agree KC is still the heavy hitter in the AFC, still the biggest threat. But a fan of the show wants to know, is Tennessee now are they the biggest threat to Kansas City in the AFC? What do you guys think? Where does Tennessee stand now?
They stand a lot higher than they did a couple of days ago. I'll tell you that for sure. Yeah. And it's. I think some people might roll their eyes at that, and you're like, one person's really going to change that. Absolutely. You're looking at Julio Jones, and Katie, you just spilled out all the reasons why he is a game changer for a team that's already been building up their offense over the past couple of seasons. You have a guy like Derrick Henry, who, in my opinion, he's not like your average running back that's going to burn out in his early 30s. He's going for a little bit more. He's going to truck a little bit longer than, given just that today is a passing game. He's going to be the one that stands out and makes it. And he's going to continue putting up massive yards. So you already have him. You have A.J. Brown, and you have this random quarterback in Ryan Tannehill that no one really thought would pan out, and I did not at all, but it works. He works for the Titans.
And when he did it 2 seasons ago, I thought it was a fluke. And then he backed it up last season. I'm like, all right, he's the real deal.
He's the real deal. Yeah. He got away from Adam Gase and took off.
Yeah. So just 100%, I do think they have upped it in the threat area in the AFC, and I am just beyond excited to watch them this season.
Yeah, okay. I'm. You know what? Where they stand in the AFC is very tricky. They're definitely right up there, and I'm so reluctant to put Baltimore up there just because of their recent playoff struggles. They're such a great regular. I don't know what
there's such a question mark to me.
They're a question mark. To me, there's 2 factors. So, one, I think the Browns on paper have the best roster top to bottom. Hit them in the Colts, maybe roster-wise, top to bottom. Maybe not the best quarterback, obviously, but everything else, they have no question marks. Also, there's the Broncos. If they get Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson with those weapons and that defense, they're going to be a real problem, a real problem. Now, obviously, I can't say that here because they don't have either one of those quarterbacks yet, or they may never have one. But if they do, that's going to be a very, very good team.
Snacks, you just mentioned a ton of teams, okay, in the AFC. And you left off who I think is still the biggest threat to KC. I'm a believer in those Buffalo Bills. I really am.
Bills.
I'm actually willing to put Tennessee at the 3 spot. But I'm a believer in Buffalo, and I've got them as the biggest threat to KC.
You know what? You know what? It's a bad job on my end. I don't know why I'm so into this Browns team this year. I think they're just very good. And then I have, my friend Max, who I do the podcast, which keeps drilling Rodgers or Watson into my head with the Broncos. So I automatically went there. I love Buffalo. Love them. Josh Allen is a stud. Sean McDermott, the head coach, is an unbelievable coach. They brought back their offensive coordinator that just made Josh Allen an absolute stud. Right. So the sky's the limit for them. And you're probably right. The defense was a little leaky last year, which is kind of suspect. But at this point in the game, they can still score with anybody. So does it really matter? It's 2021. Go score points. Go score points. You got to go score points. So
it's funny your take on Denver, though, because speaking of the article we talked about last week from Adam Shine, one of his other bold predictions was that Aaron Rodgers was going to be with the Denver Broncos. So,
well, if he goes 2-2 with these two big boys,
are you just secretly BFFs with Adam Shine? Because then you're really like on a roll with we don't like the same people.
Yeah, we don't like Adam Shine.
Hate him.
Nope.
Hate
you guys will be lucky to know that I can't stand that guy.
Okay, good.
I can't stand looking at him, first of all, and his voice makes his face even worse.
He's the worst.
Listen, I'm not the most attractive human being in the world, but I can tell you when somebody's really unattractive, and his voice makes him even more unattractive. So that's my 2 cents on Adam Shine.
Well, that's why I don't listen to our podcast really ever on demand. I kind of just send it off on its ways because I know what I sound like, and I'm like, ooh, people probably turn us off real quick.
It's so funny. I barely listen to anything I put out either. I mean, like Bleeding Blue, I will, because I'll also do it in high speed because I can barely listen. I can't listen to myself talk. I can't. But I'm the most ridiculous human being I've ever met in my life, and I've met a lot of them. And I can't feel that like, holy shit, these people are listening to me talk. Like, why?
That's how I feel.
What are you doing? So I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. So another fan actually reached out about Julio as well. And it was basically asking, what are the implications of this? Is it AFC Championship? Is it Super Bowl bound? So I definitely want to pump the brakes on the Super Bowl talk, as much as I was just, very much so happy and glowing and talking about Julio Jones going to the Titans and that great addition there. I do just want to pump it and pull it back real quick on the Super Bowl. I think you just have to be realistic when looking into things. I think the Tennessee Titans are a, powerhouse of a team. And I think they can definitely move forward, but they have to move forward in the ways that make sense for them and where they can make the most impact. So let's make it to the playoffs first, and let's see what they can do in the playoffs. So obviously we had a couple of seasons back where they did upset the New England Patriots. So what I need for them to do in the playoffs, if you guys want to talk Super Bowl, they have that first game can't be an upset. It has to be, they know they're going in and dominating, and then we'll take it game by game. And then if you want to go to the Super Bowl, we'll talk about it then.
Talk about it then. Play Pat Mahomes and see how you do in Kansas City.
I think they're capable. Like, they're not going to be my pick to reach the Super Bowl, but if they did, would it crazy shock you? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. So
I would like to see the diversity of another freaking team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Think about how well bum ass Corey Davis did opposite of AJ Brown. Now you put in
forget it.
Arguably one of the best receivers of our generation.
Yeah.
That just even opens up Derrick Henry even more. So they're a force to be reckoned with. I'm with you guys.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're having my phone is ringing.
Are we getting
my dad? It's my dad. My dad is calling.
I tell him, get this psycho off your channel.
No,
Who is this guy?
Who is she? No.
Who is she?
Who is she? It's just my parents' home phone. My dad's calling, but we won't answer the hotline right now. But if anyone wants, call in the hotline. I know we gotta have a landline. I don't have a landline personally, but clearly my parents do.
You guys should think about doing that, like that voicemail thing.
That's what. Yeah. Do you guys do it for Bleeding Blue or?
No, we don't. But we do it for another show I'm on, and it's very funny. I know
Justin and Bobby do it. We actually called in one time, the two of us. Yeah, I think it was about Eli, like when he retired. So of course, Kate and I call. I'm like crying halfway. I'm like,
on the phone.
Don't air this, please.
I would do the same. It's all right.
Halfway through the voicemail, I thought it was gonna be like cheery. I was crying. I was like, please don't post this. But yeah. Okay, honestly, like this has been a phenomenal conversation. Snacks, you were a beautiful addition to the Real Football Fans of New Jersey this week. Before we wrap things up, though, please let our audience know where to find you on social media, where to find your podcast, everything like that. We want them to go in and find out everything about Giants history, about fantasy football, everything. And also your personal Twitter, which is obviously a riot. So,
so on Twitter, you can find me my Snacks. It's if you don't know how to spell, it's SNAK. Oh nope, I don't know how to spell SNACKS_BDGE. All of my ridiculousness is on Twitter there. We do our show. It's called Fade the Public. It's all fantasy football. It's under the BDG umbrella. On YouTube, just type in Big Dogs Gotta Eat. On YouTube, you'll find everything there. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything. And then Bleeding Blue, we premiere an episode every Monday, 6 p.m. on the Talking Giants YouTube channel, which we are very thankful that we're able to do that. And me and Justin, while the episode's going on, we're able to talk and chat with you guys through it. So it's a lot of fun. And ladies, I want to tell you, I am very thankful for you guys to have me on. I've been looking forward to this for a while. It did not disappoint at all. I know I feel great about it. I hope you guys feel great.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, maybe later on down the road, we can come back and maybe I'll be a little bit happier. Maybe it could be mid-season when the Giants are 8-2.
I would love that.
Even though it'll be 2-8, but you never know. You never know.
Maybe we could all catch each other at MetLife, possibly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
We can cheers wine in person.
Oh my gosh, a lot of wine. Listen,
Yeah, so you are a
frequent. Ask Grandma if we could have the fancy wine at MetLife.
We do. Yeah.
That's only going to be all right. I'll ask you if we can get a bottle.
Okay.
But it can only be after a win. So if we go to the game,
that's fine.
And we lose, can't do it. We can save it for the next one.
We'll just meet again next week. We'll meet again.
That's what I'm saying. It'll be for the next one, and they'll probably go 0-17, so it won't matter.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You guys were meant to do a podcast together about how the Giants suck.
No. In all sincerity, I truly, truly appreciate you guys having me on. I had a ton of fun, and I love what you guys do. You extremely knowledgeable, always prepared, very funny, and anybody who likes wine is somebody I like. So thank you guys very, very much.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us. Cheers.
See you soon. Cheers.
Do I have to kick you out of the podcast?
Bye. Kick his ass out.
Kick my ass out.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Bye.
I didn't know. I thought people just leave the studio. I didn't feel bad kicking someone out. That was great. So everyone, we do hope you enjoyed our guest Snacks. If you're listening to the podcast, just rewind a little bit so you know where to find him. But yeah, truly great guest. Katie and I are going to continue to do this. We love our Giants fandom. Obviously, everyone we know is just so knowledgeable around football, the Giants, wine, clearly. Now we know. And we'll try to get some Housewives fans on you for here too, real quick in the future. But all right, so real quickly, we do have another football topic. We'll just run through it real quickly because, as you know, or maybe you don't know, the free agency's still going on, people. There's still things.
We're still giving you the updates, baby.
That was the title of our last episode. Like, yes, the free agency is still going on. That's going to be part 2 this week. So just a quick roundup here for you. So on Monday, Baltimore signed ex-defensive tackle Juwan James to a 2-year, $3.5 million contract. James did opt out of the 2020 season because of the pandemic. Then he tore his Achilles while he was away from football. So this season was definitely up in the air for him. But he did file a $15 million grievance against Denver after they did not pay his salary because of his injury. And they didn't pay it because it took place at an off-site workout. So it wasn't dealing with them. But he did file the grievance. So obviously, if you learn any more about that, we'll let you know. But he's with Baltimore now. So there's that. On Thursday, ex-Indianapolis defensive back Malik Hooker visited, and we mentioned him last week, I believe. Yeah. He did visit with Pittsburgh, only 25 years old. He has been plagued by injuries, unfortunately, as he was drafted in 2017. Tore his Achilles in week 2 of the 2020 season, and he's also visited with Miami and Dallas. So we'll let you know what goes on there.
I feel like any day now, we're going to learn where he's going, right?
He's got to, you're making all these visits. It's going to happen. It's got to, yeah. It might not be like the best contract in the world, but it's going to be something like.
You're coming off of an injury. So just you got to prove that you're worth it and then go from there.
Yeah. All right. Last week, Minnesota agreed to terms with former Kansas City cornerback Bashaud Breeland on a 1-year deal worth up to $4 million. 29 years old, Breeland is now joining his 4th team after previously playing with Washington, Green Bay, and Kansas City. He has had 14 career interceptions and 81 passes defended while starting 88 of 94 regular season games. So that stat actually isn't really that bad, 88 out of 94.
No, that's great. You're getting like a veteran starter.
Right. Being on like all of those teams though at such a young age is kind of, I guess, like the red. It's not, I don't want to call it a red flag. It's just something that comes up. Like,
well, I think of a guy like Clinton Dix, and I don't really understand why he like was constantly bouncing around to
that's
teams.
A really,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, really fair. And I obviously am more drawn to because I obviously have known him since his Bama days. So that's actually, I think that's a really solid like comparison. So yeah. But so as you said, it's a real quick roundup. The free agency is still going on, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. So keep watching our show. Obviously, stay glued to Twitter, your NFL app, your ESPN app, whatever you want to do. Make sure that is on. So you get to know. But there still are, and there's people even not even here that. So just keep listening. So there's things still moving and grooving.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into our big stories of the week in the world of housewives. We only have one for you, but it's kind of like it is a roundup of a bunch of different ones because we are doing housewives quick hot topics. So real quick, we've definitely been talking a lot about the Dina Manzo drama with her ex-husband and everything.
A dumpster.
It's getting really, really messy. It's getting really, really messy.
I can't even keep track of everything.
I know. Well, we're trying to help you guys keep track. Albie Manzo, Caroline's son, he just recently took to his own podcast to discuss and defend his mother's decision to write a letter in support of her sister Dina's ex-husband Tommy, who awaits trial for allegedly hiring a hitman to attack Dina's current husband. So we did recently speak on the podcast how Caroline was writing that letter of support. And obviously, Albie's backing up his mother's decision. He said on his podcast, "This is why I respect my mother so much. She made a choice that she knew going in was going to be extraordinarily unpopular. That could have been easily twisted into something that it isn't, but she made it anyway because she felt it was the right thing to do. My mother wrote a letter based on the character of my uncle as we know him, the facts as we've seen them, as we know him in his life. It's about one thing. Is he a threat to society? The answer is no. We believe the answer is no." So Dina kind of clapping back, though, saying that it's funny that Albie's speaking about it on his podcast, basically just for downloads and how it's a storyline for him to profit from. I kind of understand that. Like, he did, like, tease it and be like, oh, like, wait to hear my response on my podcast. You know what I mean? So
they're all like that. All the housewives, the clickbait and the shit. I hate it. It's so annoying.
Right. So I'm like Team Dina on this one. And I think most fans are still kind of like we're all disgusted by what happened. And definitely rubbed the wrong way by Caroline taking that route. Albie was right. Extraordinarily unpopular decision by his mother. And I can't wait for this all to get resolved. Like,
that doesn't make it okay though. Like, I think the most frustrating thing with that is that, of course, like, you want to stand up with your family and like be by your family's side, but like, you also need to be able to tell your family and friends when they're wrong. Like, literally. Exactly. So I don't know. It's just weird.
All right. Erica Jane, another person, and her, ex-husband, Tom, another people with legal issues. We talk about them a lot on here. Their legal scandals we were super curious, like, how much are we going to hear about it on Housewives? Well, Their scandal is going to be explored in a new documentary called The Housewife and the Hustler. It will air exclusively on Hulu starting on June 14th. So in a couple of days, it's going to feature voicemail messages, court records, never before aired deposition tape of Tom. So honestly, we might probably be getting more juicy information from this documentary than we would Housewives. So if you're very invested in this story with Erica, as many of you are, and if you have Hulu, this is something that you're definitely going to want to tune into. And like I said,
Hulu, Peacock,
June 14th, just a couple of days away. So if you have Hulu and you want to check it out, definitely let us know how it is, because I don't know.
We don't have the stupid Hulu or the Peacock.
Or the Peacock. God damn.
Stop.
God damn.
Stop streaming on the things we don't have.
And then speaking of wine, early in the show with Snacks, talking about wines we like and what wines to purchase. Miss Bethany Frankel, I didn't expect this to kind of happen, but she has launched a new liquor brand called Forever Young. This comes obviously after selling her Skinny Girl cocktail brand in 2011. For $120 million. Obviously, that was a huge deal. Forever Young wine is currently available in Malbec, Cabernet, Sauvignon Blanc, and there is a rosé option coming soon. Prices for the each bottle range from $12 to $17. So
not bad.
Bottle. Definitely, I know Caitlin and I always like to be on the lookout for any of the Housewives wine products or liquor products. So certainly if we see it on the shelves anywhere soon, one of us will have to grab it, do a little review of it. So
I really liked the Housewives wine that you got me for my birthday. Just like the branded one, really good. And then
I'll be very honest. I was not a fan of Skinny Girl. I tried really hard to like it, and I just didn't.
I think it's just because there was just like no alcohol. Like I knew girls in college,
very like sugary and sweet, and
like I knew girls in college that would get like the Skinny Girl vodka, and these girls were putting down like over half the bottle of vodka because there was just like nothing in it. And I was like, is that really better than like doing? I don't think so. So I never tried the wine, to be honest. So but
well, we'll have to keep an eye out, or if anybody wants to send us some wine, go for it.
Seriously, guys, how long have we been doing this and no one has sent us wine yet?
Send us some wine, send us some cameos. Like, come on.
You know what we want. It's not that hard. Alrighty, so we are going to play a very fun game. We've been talking about wide receivers a bunch tonight because of obviously Julio Jones. So we are playing that wide receiver 1-2 punch. We've played games like this similar in the past. We've looked at running backs. I think we looked at running backs. Did we do wide receivers before?
We did do wide receivers before. Yes.
Yeah, so we definitely played this before, but this one gets a little bit more detailed. And it is coming off of Julio Jones being traded to Tennessee. Right. So Bleacher Report actually came out with an article ranking the top 5 wide receiver duels. And they also had one honorable mention in there as we go into the 2021 season. So we're going to give you our top 5 rankings. We're also going to give you our honorable mention. And then actually, we're going to let you know what we think is actually the worst duo in the NFL as well. As of right now. So let's just go 1 to 5. Mine are ranked 1 being the best of 5. So I don't know. Do you want to go in reverse order, or do you want to go 5?
Why don't we go 5? 5 down to 1.
Okay. So coming in at number 5, who do you have?
Coming in at number 5, and this is a team that actually wasn't on Bleacher Report's list. We could say number 5 for Bleacher Report was Minnesota's Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Number 5 for me, I have Arizona Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. Okay. Obviously, a huge factor of why they're even in my top 5 is because half of that duo, that to me is the number 1 wide receiver in the league right now. So you have him. So then you have to look at Christian Kirk mainly. Like, what does he bring to the table? He had 6 touchdowns last year, which was the same amount of touchdowns that Hopkins had. And I think when you pair them together, they can easily go over 2,000 yards receiving together this upcoming season. No, I definitely wanted to throw them into the mix and give them a little love, especially having the best wide receiver as half of that duo.
Right. And I think that's fair for sure. I definitely get looking at half of it. I just think there were so many teams that both of the people were just so tremendous and could have definitely been a wide receiver one on another team. So, but I do think your points are fair for sure. So I'm joining in on the hype and I'm hopping on the bandwagon train of the Titans being phenomenal this season. So I'm actually putting Brown and Jones at that number 5 spot with the Tennessee Titans. I think that it is a great wide receiver combo. I do obviously know that A.J. Brown is there right now at number 1, who sees what happens throughout the season. If Julio makes his way and shimmies his way to that 1 spot, who knows? I don't know, but I love the two of them together. And the reason I think that maybe potentially someone could sit here and argue and put them a little bit higher up on the list, even if you see some of my teams, maybe potentially. But I think just seeing that, Julio is just a very recent transaction. Let's not jump the gun real quick, but I'm going to jump it as far as putting them in my top 5 tonight.
All right, cool.
All right, coming in at number 4 for you.
Number 4 is actually Bleacher Report's number 5. I am going with Minnesota's Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Bleacher Report, just so you guys know, at number 4 spot, put Dallas's Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. And you also have Michael Gallup there too. So that's actually like,
I know.
I think if we were to take it like a step further and do like the 3-headed monster, like WR1, 2, 3, I think Dallas would be very high, would probably be in a top 5 list.
I just feel like I have very unique opinions when it comes to this list. We'll just put that out there.
I have Thielen and Justin Jefferson at 4. I think it might be hard for Justin Jefferson to repeat what he did in his rookie year. He had 1,400 receiving yards. I mean, that's a lot. That's ridiculous. Yeah. I think he finished 4th in receiving yards in the entire league last year. So I do think he's going to take a step back. I think he'll be amazing, but it's really hard to repeat for anybody to repeat 1,400 yards. But I do like them together on this list because, and I think a huge factor for anybody on my list is, could they both go over 1,000 yards receiving in a season? And these two can do it. And both of them are capable of doing it. So they're my 4 spot.
All righty. Coming in at number 4 for me, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I have the combo of Woods and Kupp here. I love this duo. I actually had this conversation with my boyfriend earlier this week, and I'm happy that we played this game because it actually panned out pretty well. It was the kind of like, playing the devil's advocate was, did Woods really stand out because he's next to a guy like Cooper Kupp, who kind of like gives him maybe the little bit of an extra for, he is so in the spotlight, Cooper Kupp, that he's also tagging along in the spotlight there. But for me, Cooper Kupp obviously, had his injuries, but I still think he's a very talented wide receiver. And I think the two of them with the Rams just fit really nicely. They just, within that organization, just do really well. And I just definitely saw them on this list. I just thought it was funny that I was literally having this conversation earlier in the week. And my argument was, I think they're both just very talented individuals within themselves, and they do actually bounce off of each other really nicely.
They do, absolutely. Number 3? Number 3 on the list. 3, Bleacher Report has Seattle's DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
Finally, someone I have, but not here.
Okay. This is where I place Tennessee. This is where I place Julio Jones and A.J. Brown.
Well, I'm glad to see I didn't jump the gun that much.
No, yeah. So there's question marks.
But I'm happy you have them there. Yeah.
Yeah. Can Julio stay healthy? Can he score touchdowns? Because even when he's healthy, he's not a huge touchdown guy, right? If healthy, Julio and AJ could potentially, they could potentially combine for the most yards together over any other duo on my list. Speaking of Jefferson with 1,400 yards, like we've seen Julio Jones up in that territory. These are definitely, if Julio Jones is healthy, they're both easily going over 1,000 yards in my opinion. But yeah, I think the question mark factor, especially because it was just coming off of the 2020 season with Julio and this injury, that's why I had to put them at 3 and keep them there. I couldn't go any higher with it.
Mm-hmm. Number 3 for me, I'm going down to Florida with Tampa Bay with Evans and Godwin. I just think that I like to look at their surroundings that they have too, as much as I want to look as each individual as a receiver and where they hit with the 1-2 area. I just love that. It's just still, to me, a very scary sight to see that Tampa Bay signed every single person back from that Super Bowl team. They know each other. They're at camp this week. They know each other. They're only going to get better. So if you have that wide receiver combo, they're only getting better with Tom Brady behind the wheel, seriously. So I think giving that, and they also do, both of them bring, unique talents to the field for sure. I think, I don't know, maybe someone will pull the receipts. I might have called Chris Godwin lazy once in my life. So you can probably pull those receipts. I think it's because, I don't know, I have to go back. I'm pretty sure I called him lazy once, but it was a silly thing that I saw, and he was definitely playing a little lazy, but they are both extremely.
I think you said it about Mike Evans. I don't remember you saying it about Godwin. I think you might have said it about Mike Evans.
Well, it was one of them.
I think it was Mike Evans.
Well, I think whatever, but I that still does not detract from the talent, in my opinion. And again, like I said, I like to look at the surroundings. And if you're not in New England anymore when Tom Brady has the Walmart grocer like bagger as his wide receiver, you actually have 2 legitimate, you have more than 2, but these are your 1 and 2 wide receivers. So I put them in the number 3.
All right.
Number 2,
Bleacher Report. This is, they were the ones to put Tennessee the highest out of them and you and I. They have them at number 2, Julio Jones and AJ Brown. Number 2, I have Seattle's DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I actually didn't think going into doing this game and writing down my thoughts and looking at the stats, I didn't think I was going to have this duo so high up on my list. I knew they would make my list. I didn't expect them to be at 2, but then as I'm going into it and really looking into it, I'm like, this is the right spot. So I've definitely said it on this show before. Tyler Lockett is incredibly underrated. I think he might be one of the most, for whatever reason, he does not get enough credit. And
he does not.
He's gone over 1,000 yards his last 2 seasons. He's had 28 touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. That's ridiculous. DK was obviously a beast last year with 1,300 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. What I like about this duo and what they're capable of, and this is a poo-poo stat to a lot of people, but I hold it in really high regard.
Yeah.
Both players played all 16 regular season games last year.
That should not be a no.
But
honestly,
but people don't hold that in high enough regard.
In this day and age, no one plays a whole freaking season.
Right.
And it's embarrassing because everything's an injury, or you I don't know, you're sitting out for some reason. I don't know. I can't. So that is not.
I know Seattle kind of maybe wanted to get into the mix with Julio Jones, but listen, they're not hurting at the wide receiver position. These are 2 excellent wide receivers, and I think worthy of being number 2 on my list.
Yeah, so I'm 100% convinced right now that our 1 and 2s are swapped. So coming in at number 2 for me is I have the Cleveland Browns. So I have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. I really liked what Snacks brought up earlier when he brought up the Colts and the Browns just having really magnificent rosters. But when you kind of go out on the field, it doesn't always reflect like that sometimes. I mean, if you want to look at the Falcons, you can even probably put the Falcons in there, top to bottom. They had a great roster and just couldn't execute. So I think that sometimes, as much as maybe a single individual might not get enough credit, I think that Jarvis Landry and Odell get the credit. I think they're overlooked sometimes because of who they're playing with, the team that they're on. And I think the Browns did a tremendous job last season, and I think they're on the up. I think they are a true threat in that division for sure. A true threat against the Steelers, in my opinion, who are probably they're going the opposite direction. They're going down. So I just, but again, like looking around, like I do like to look at the surroundings. Like I'm not always confident in Baker. I'm really not. But I do think the two of them are very talented. And if you do have the two of them on your team as your 1-2 wide receiver, you have some of the best there. So.
Okay. All right. Getting to that coveted spot.
All right. So number 1, was I correct?
You are not
swapped.
You are not correct. You are not correct. So Bleacher Report and I actually agree on our number 1 spot. We both have Tampa Bay's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So
I was going to say, damn it, is it someone that I don't have on my list?
Throw out the stat book, which I know is hard for me to do because like that's how I focus on football. Throw out the stat book. This is the duo that I fear the most. They're the ones that scare me the most. Like, holy crap, these two are on a team together. Like, look out. Like, it's trouble. So they, to me, are definitely the best. That was huge for Tampa Bay to keep Chris Godwin around. Yeah. And like Caitlin said, keep everybody around, really. These two scored 20 touchdowns together last season, despite the fact that Chris Godwin missed 4 games. So to me, that's like they find the end zone. Both guys, I think their yards were down like just a little bit. Honestly, because Tampa Bay got all these like new weapons, Gronk came in. You had all these other guys that you had to feed the ball to. So I think we all kind of expected that their yards would go a little bit down, but they are the dynamic duo in my mind. They're easily, for me, number 1 on my list. And you, drum roll. I think since you said we were swapping, it's Seattle.
It is, yeah. So I'm going with Seattle's DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Yeah, very similar to what you had said. I think when I started, doing my analysis of this and doing this game, I don't necessarily think that I thought Seattle would be as high on my list. And as I looked, what I did was basically just looked through the depth charts and, just wrote names down on a document. And then when I was done going through all the teams, looked at everything I wrote, and I was like, all right, I could probably eliminate you and eliminate you. Yeah. And then when I sincerely had the 5 teams that I had now, I had some trouble moving people around, but Seattle definitely just stood out to me. And I think I put them at number 1 because of how confident I am with the two of them behind Russell Wilson. Yeah. I'm not 1,000,000,000% confident with that offensive line, but I think Seattle will do what they have to do to make, Russell happy, to make, that franchise happy and everything like that. And they're very consistent, and I think that they're consistent in a way where it's not showy or flashy, or a way that gets spoken about in the media every day on Get Up or Sports Center in the morning. But it's a good for that team, and if you show up against them on a Sunday, you're going to be scared to face that wide receiver combo.
Absolutely. We probably should have. I forgot. I guess we should have started with honorable mention.
Oh yeah,
but we'll give it to you now because we do have honorable mentions. Bleacher Report's honorable mention was a duo that Caitlin named on her list. So they did put the Rams, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. And my honorable mention, just so Caitlin's not freaked out that I didn't include them at all, oh shit, I put them at this point. I do have Cleveland's Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. I did throw them in there. They're scary. And I think if when Odell first got traded, if we were to play this game when that first happened, we probably would have put them at 1. But obviously Odell has battled the injury bug. Right. Since he left New York, he really hasn't had a season with Cleveland that were better than his time in New York. He really put up his best numbers in New York. So we're going to see how he looks coming off of the injury. But yeah, my note is still scary, still scared of them. So
Still
absolutely,
scary.
I did want to, pay note to them and put them in there.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to wear my bias hat here and put credit where credit is due. So my honorable mention is the New York Giants. So the Giants actually have 8 wide receivers. Let's just put that out there right now. Their depth chart is literally 8 people. I understand that that's not going to be the case in like a couple of weeks, but like I just laughed out loud when I like really looked at it in detail. Signing Kenny Golladay was huge for the New York Giants, and I think a lot of people want to play it down sometimes, and I think that's just extremely frustrating. And I do love that Darius Slayton is in the number 2 slot because of his connection with Daniel Jones. Did we see it last year as much as we wanted to? No, it was the connection that we wanted to see continue to go up on the rise, and I do think that it is this season. I think Golladay will lift him up, as I think he will lift up Shepard and Tony as well, being a newcomer to the New York Giants, and every other person on that list. So if we do keep 8 wide receivers, but yeah, again, like I know it's a biased opinion, but I do again just want to give credit where credit is due. I think that the Giants have definitely had a question mark in this position, and I think they could easily come out right now and feel solid in where they land with this.
All right. So let's get to the very interesting one, right?
I feel like we have to agree on this one.
I don't know.
There definitely is more. Yeah, I don't
know. I don't know if we're going to agree.
All right. Who do you have?
I don't know if we're going to agree. Because I think there were like a couple of people that you could have put in this position.
Right.
But the worst wide receiver.
I have circumstances. That's why. Maybe that's why.
But these two are going to be playing with, they're going to have a new quarterback with them. And so I definitely think it sucks for him that he's getting, in my opinion, the worst wide receiver duo of the bunch. I think this could potentially be the worst team, maybe the worst team in football next year. I went with the Detroit Lions.
We agree.
All right, there we go. So Detroit Lions, their 1-2 punch is Tyrell Williams, who did not play in the 2020 season due to injury. And then you got Brashad Perriman, who's been a journeyman himself and never, ever panned out based on where he was drafted at and everything like that. And to me, I was like, that's their 1-2 punch.
Well, that was the biggest question going into the NFL draft. Like that was what they had. And it was like, okay, here's the biggest, you need to do something. And guess what they didn't do? They didn't do anything. Like they didn't do anything. So that is one of the main reasons why I picked them as my worst, because they were given the opportunity to fix it and they did not.
In such a great wide receiver draft, right?
Yep. So. And that's kind of was such a question mark as well. Like, and I understand that you're clearly a team that needs a lot of fixing, but when you're literally declared as like the worst wide receiver team before the draft and you don't make that a priority, something else is going on there.
Yeah, I think it could get really, 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 I expect it to be very ugly in Detroit this season.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, honestly, that was a great game and really some really, really solid wide receiver duos. So fun to explore that, especially with the news of Julio Jones and throwing him into the mix with Mr. A.J. Brown. But now it is time to get it off our chest, that point in the night where we talk positive, negative about Housewives, football, life, wine, all that jazz, good or bad. Caitlin, why don't you kick it off? I know you got a good one tonight.
Yeah, so I actually have 2 quick things, just like real fast. I want to give a shout out to obviously the GOAT, in my opinion, of college whatever, football, college, whatever, coaches, NFL, whatever. Nick Saban. His contract has been extended another 3 years into 2028. And just some things here. So his extension is now going to pay him $8.425 million salary for the current season, but that does increase annually. He's also receiving an $800,000 contract completion bonus after the 2022 to 2025 seasons. He is 69 years old and will be 77 when he stays on the sideline for this duration of the contract, which will conclude February 28th on 2029. So I think that he is just honestly the GOAT in my opinion. And a lot of people will always, with him and how he coaches and his style, will always bring up his age and wonder how long will it actually last and how long will Bama actually last. I thought it was interesting, during
a long time.
A long time. Never given up. But so for until 2028 or, in February of 2029, when it actually officially concludes, someone was like, how many championships will Alabama actually win in these next couple of years? So someone did say 3. They were confident like 3 will be, and I like that number. I'm going to go ahead and up it to 4 because I'm very confident with Alabama. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and like all credit where credit is due. Nick Saban is truly the GOAT when it comes to college football, when it comes to coaching. So there you go. You get that credit. And a lot of people think he's actually underpaid. College coaches don't always, I think they make a lot of money. So I don't know why people think he's underpaid, but whatever. That is what it is. And then second, real quick. So I am doing a fundraiser through a company called One Hope Wine. So basically what they do is they set up fundraisers where you can buy wine and a portion of the proceeds go to a charity of your choice. I chose to partner with the Tom Coughlin J Fund. It is a organization that Katie and I and all Giants fans are very close to. So Tom Coughlin started this foundation, years back. It helps fight childhood cancer. It's a very touching association. Eli's tied to it. The Giants were tied to it when Tom Coughlin was there. When we went to one of the softball games one year, all the proceeds went to the J Fund. So it's a great organization. So I'm going to drop the link for this fundraiser in all of our social media accounts and everything like that. It is as easy as buying a bottle of wine. And, Katie and I are obsessed with wine. So there's no gimmick to it. There's nothing. All you have to do is buy a bottle of wine and money goes to this charity, it's a truly outstanding charity. So just a quick plug there.
We're also here to say that we have personally had One Hope wine, and it's very good.
Yeah, and if you guys need any recommendations, ask me. I bought a case of like 12 of the wines the last time, and I've tried pretty much all of them. And Katie had a bunch as well, including a very nice bottle of champagne. So just let us know. We will give you some recommendations. But yeah, simple plug there. And again, it's as easy as buying a bottle of wine. And I know you're all on the market for a bottle of wine.
Yes. I'm very excited about that because obviously I'll be partaking and purchasing some wine for sure. And I love that you're doing that. Very excited when I heard that this was your idea, and glad that you could announce it on the show tonight. I guess I'll just piggyback off of the fact that you happened to mention the charity softball game, which yes, proceeds have gone to Tom Coughlin's J Fund. This past week was like a little difficult for me, because when you pull up your phone and you happen to look like into your pictures or whatever that are on your phone, they're like, this is what you did 1 year ago today. This is what you did 2 years ago today. And this past week was both, this day, this time, we had attended the charity softball game in 2018 and in 2019. And I know I probably did this on Get It Off My Chest before, but I'm really bummed that there's no charity softball game. Really, really wanted to, especially when, we could be at whatever, like full capacity at MetLife. Like I was like, all right, things are getting better. People are getting vaccinated. We're definitely going to have this charity softball game. Didn't expect that it wouldn't be on. Just here to say that I'm a huge fan. It was so bittersweet, like seeing all the amazing pictures that Caitlin and I took those 2 years with all different Giants players. It is honestly like one of my, I know we've only gone twice, but I could say like going to that softball game is like one of my favorite days out of the year. We are honestly like two little kids on Christmas. So license plate guy, happy birthday to you. Happy belated
happy
birthday recently. And let's get it back. Let's get it back for next year. We got to be there. We got to be in the mix. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it was just, pulled my heartstrings. I was like, I want to be there. It would be at this exact time. And so I'm missing it.
I know. We'll get there back. We'll get back there soon enough. So don't you worry. Alrighty, so that concludes our show, but do not miss Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. So if you are watching live, I hope you're watching us, not Beverly Hills. And then Real Housewives of New York is on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. And then, with football, I think we're like 90 something days away. We're in the 90s, people. We're in the 90s.
Yeah.
But we are close. So so thank you so much for joining us live. Thank you for listening on the podcast. We are the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. Tremendous episode. Obviously, follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And our podcast is on all of your favorite outlets, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're everywhere you guys want us to be. So thank you so much for joining us again. We will see you next time.
And thank you to Snacks as well, and follow him on all his outlets as well. So great episode. Loved having him. And thank you all, honestly.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Goodbye. Cheers.